Okay, 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 okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike, Sam, Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you want to support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shills. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike, Sam, Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.
Chapter 12. Whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. A good man obtaineth favour of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices will he condemn. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. The thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be commended according to his wisdom, but he that is of a perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoureth himself and lacketh bread. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. The wicked desireth the net of evil men, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. A fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man covereth shame. He that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. There shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be unto tribute. Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious. In the way of righteousness is life, and in the pathway thereof there is no death. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. And said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Also I heard the voice of the Lord, saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Then said I, Here am I. Send me. And he said, Go and tell this people, Hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert, and be healed. Then said I, Lord, how long? And he answered, Until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate. And the Lord have removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tenth, and it shall return, and shall be eaten. As a teil tree, and as an oak, whose substance is in them, when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be the substance thereof.
Hello. Welcome to Toronto Bible Study. I'm your host, Mike Sampat, and today we are going to look at Proverbs chapter 30, towards the end of the chapter. Thank you for joining me, everyone, whoever's here. God bless you, and let me just say a prayer, and then we can begin our reading. Okay. Heavenly Father, Almighty God, Father, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable unto you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Father, we just ask that you bless us now with wisdom, with guidance, to understand these proverbs, to understand your word, and to use this wisdom wisely in our lives to glorify your name and glorify the name of your holy Son, Jesus Christ. Bless the listeners, Father. Give them wisdom, give them strength, encourage them, give them peace. I ask all this in the name of your holy Son, Jesus Christ. On him be glory forever and ever. Amen. All right, so let's begin, shall we? I don't know who's here with me today, but you guys don't have to comment. That's okay. Hasabo, what's up, brother? God bless you, man. Thanks for joining. Glad I found out who's with me here. At least some of you, at least one of you. Hello, River Eagle. Oh, you're listening prayerfully? All right, fair enough. Fair enough. That's totally fine. You don't have to speak up or anything. But I'm glad to know that somebody's here listening. I'm not all by myself. So Proverbs chapter 30, right? It's the second last chapter. We're getting towards the end now. This chapter and the last chapter are probably meant to be read together. They're sometimes seen as like two separate kind of sections of the book, but they're probably meant to be read together as a kind of concluding piece, okay? Hang on here. And so because before this we had seen, okay, at the first 9 chapters were the longer poems that they're sort of introducing us to Proverbs and wisdom. And then in chapter 10 we saw this new heading here, the Proverbs of Solomon. And after that section, now it's no longer the longer poems, it's more like these short sayings that we normally would consider to be proverbs, right? So we see this over the course of the next these ones are a certain type. These are ones called antithetical parallels. So the first half is kind of saying the opposite of the second half, but they're both kind of saying the same thing. So, for example, a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Now, the father and mother, they just both represent the parents, right? So a wise son makes the parents happy, and a foolish son makes the parents sad or heavy, okay? So they're both kind of saying the same thing, that it's good to be a wise son and bad to be a foolish son. But they're saying it in the opposite side, all right? That's what we call antithetical parallelism. Then in chapter 16, it had a new section beginning where these are mostly, not all, but mostly what they call synonymous parallelism. So this is where they kind of say the same thing twice, but with different words. So for example, by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged, and by the fear of the Lord, men depart from evil. So they're basically saying the same thing. Mercy and truth is kind of representing the Lord, especially when they use his name like this. So by mercy and truth, or by fear of the Lord, these are the same thing. And then iniquity is purged is the same thing as men depart from evil. So they say the same thing with different words. That's synonymous parallelism. And then this type of saying, not all, but most, carries on until 22:17. And then we see this heading, bow down thine ears and hear the words of the wise, okay? So these words of the wise, now this is usually seen as beginning the sort of last third of the book, okay? The first third was those those longer poems that introduced the book. Then you have a section in the middle from chapter 10 up until 22 here, which is they're short proverbial sayings, like the Proverbs, but they have different styles to the way they put their message out. And then here at 22:17, now we begin the words of the wise. All right. And these now in this last section of the book, the teachings become more complicated a little bit. Not much more, but a little bit more. Like, for example, they'll often take ideas that we saw in the earlier sections and combine them, synthesize them, and make a new idea out of them. And often in this section, you'll see proverbs that are actually 2 or even 3 lines long, which we didn't really see before. For example, here is this one. Haven't I written to thee excellent things and counsels and knowledge, that I might make thee know the certainty of the words of truth, that thou mightest answer the words of truth to them that send unto thee. So it's two verses together, which are just basically one saying. So this is not something we've seen before, unless you go all the way back to the longer poems. So this section carries on until chapter 24, 23. And here we have another saying, these things also belong to the wise. So it's another section of the words of the wise, okay? This section goes on only for a little bit. And then at the beginning of chapter 25, we have this saying, these are also Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied out. So it's another section of the Proverbs of Solomon. And these seem to be ones that maybe were put here later by the men of Hezekiah. Maybe they had copied them out, or they found them, maybe, and then they copied them out and put them into the book or something. But these have their own message here. And then this section carries on until chapter 29. Chapter 29 is the last chapter of the so-called Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah copied out. So this is a collection. And then this section begins with this idea of the person that hardeneth their neck. And it ends off with this saying about an unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is abomination to the wicked. So this is again the antithetical parallelism. And what we see is that the unjust and the just, they're not merely just different. They're not merely just speaking different things. No, they are an abomination to one another. They cannot coexist. Okay. And then we see this saying, the words of Agur, the son of Jakeh, even the prophecy, the man spake unto Ithiel, even unto Ithiel and Ukal. So this saying now is very interesting because we don't know who this person is. We never see his name again in the entire Bible. Okay. And his name seems to sound like a foreigner's name, not like a Hebrew name. It's not clear who exactly he is. We know that there's no Agur, son of Jakeh, spoken of in the Bible. And we know that his name doesn't appear to sound very Hebrew, though it may be. Okay. But this is the chapter 30's heading. And so we get some sayings about the first section is about this is what we might call the prophecy of Agur, this first section. And it's split up into sections of 4 things. So there was 4 questions and answers in the original, in the first 5 verses. Who hath ascended up into heaven, or descended? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who has established the ends of the earth? So there's 4 questions here. And then it asks 2 more questions. What is his name? What is his son's name? If thou canst tell. And then after this, now it has the things are placed into sections of 4 again. So here from 6 to 10, you have 4 questions about, well, they're 4 I don't know, they're not questions, they're like prohibitions, and then there's a prayer. So add thou not unto his words, so they tell you this, and then lest he reprove thee and thou be found a liar. So you have that kind of set up. And then you have this prayer, 2 things have I required of thee, deny me them not before I die. Remove me from vanity. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me. And then you have more questions again. Lest I be full and these prohibitions, and then the prohibitions, and then the lest, right? So it's like, don't do these things. He's asking God, and then he says, lest this happen, right? And then finally we have this one: accuse not a servant of his master, lest he curse thee and thou be found guilty. Okay, so that's one set of 4 things. 4 of those type of prohibitions. Don't do this, then lest I do this. So that's 4 of those. Then here from 11 to 14, you have this section of 4 things where it says, there's a generation that does something and does not do this. There's a generation that curseth their father and does not bless their mother. There's a generation that are pure in their own eyes and yet is not washed from their filthiness. So there's 4 of these. And then that's that section. And then in the last section, we also have 4 like things of 4, you know, 4 things that never say enough. That's from here to 17. Okay, then there's 4 things that are amazing in their ways. That's from 18 to where is that? From 18 to 20. Then you have 4 things that the earth is disquieted for. And then you have 4 things that are little upon the earth but are exceedingly wise. And then you have 4 things that are comely in their going, that or they walk in a way that's very stately and beautiful. Okay? And then that goes up to that goes only up to 31. And then 32 and 33, that's the kind of epilogue of the section, okay, talking about pride and strife. So that's the basic outline for the chapter, but we'll go through them closely now. Oh, hi Liliana, how are you? Thanks for joining. God bless you. I'm just here going through chapter 30, so please join me, or thank you for joining, I should say. Anyway, so now we're going to go into chapter 15 or chapter 30 from 15 to the end of the chapter. Okay, so let me read it and we'll talk about it. The horse leech hath 2 daughters, crying, Give, give. There are 3 things that are never satisfied. Yea, 4 things, say not, it is enough. The grave and the barren womb, the earth that is not filled with water, and the fire that saith not, it is enough. The eye that mocketh at his father and despiseth to obey his mother. The ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. There be 3 things which are too wonderful for me, yea, 4 which I know not. The way of an eagle in the air, the way of a serpent upon a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a maid. Such is the way of an adulterous woman. She eateth and wipeth her mouth and saith, I have done no wickedness. For 3 things the earth is disquieted, and for 4 which it cannot bear. For a servant when he reigneth, and a fool when he is filled with meat. For an odious woman when she is married, and an handmaid that is heir to her mistress. There be 4 things which are little upon the earth, but they are exceeding wise. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. The conies are but a feeble folk, yet make they their houses in the rocks. The locusts have no king, yet go they forth all of them by bands. The spider taketh hold with her hands, and is in kings' palaces. There be 3 things which go well, yea, 4 are comely in going. A lion which is strongest among beasts, and turneth not away for any. A greyhound and he-goat also, and a king against whom there is no rising up. If thou hast done foolishly in lifting up thyself, or if thou hast thought any evil, lay thine hand upon thy mouth. Surely the churning of milk bringeth forth butter, and the wringing of the nose bringeth forth blood. So the forcing of wrath bringeth forth strife. Amen. Okay. Let's talk about these more closely. How you doing, Liliana? Everything okay? Glad you could make it. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going. So here we have excuse me. So here we have five numerical sayings, which are each saying about 4 things each. Okay, they list 4 items, you know, and 4 of them, not all 5 of them, but 4 of them use this pattern of there are 3 that do this, yea 4 that do this, you know. So they have that pattern. And then these numerical sayings are usually reflections on nature and society. They're kind of early forms of that. They're different than the numerical list that we saw in chapter 6. And there's some other numerical lists as well, but the chapter 6 ones are kind of famous. So in chapter 6, they have this. There's these 6 things that the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. So it has that pattern. There are 6 things that the Lord hate, yea, 7. And then it tells you the 7: a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. All right. And then there was another list above here too, but it doesn't number itself in that way, but it's kind of like the same idea. So look what it says here. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth, he winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers, frowardness is in his heart, he deviseth mischief continually, he soweth discord. So you have this other kind of idea with similar, like a list of things, right? And so it's kind of similar numerically. That's okay. That's okay. I'd love to have a Portuguese coffee right now, but that's okay. I got my my cheap Canadian instant, but that's okay. That's good enough for now. But thank you. So okay, so there was some of these other numerical sayings earlier in the book, right? But this is a little bit different. And it's also significant that we had this idea of the 4 things at the beginning. Like this whole chapter is kind of built around that concept of 4 things, you know? Because early on we had the what was it? Hang on. So first you had the 4 do not, lest in a series, right? Or first there was, okay, wait. First there was the 4 questions and answers here in the beginning. Who hath descended up to the heaven? Who hath gathered the wind in his fist? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who hath established all the ends of the earth? These are the 4 questions. Then now from 6 to 10, you have this thing of like 4 things of do not do this lest this happens. Do not do this lest this happens, right? And some of them are requests, some of them are prayers. Or so not requests, but like admonitions, like telling us what not to do. And then lest this happens. And then there's also some prayers there as well. Then you have these 4 things. There's a generation that does this, there's a generation that does this. So there's 4 of those. All right. And then now we come to these 4 things of 4 as well. So there's this theme of 4 things in this chapter, clearly. Hang on though. There's too many notes, guys. So these ones here though at the bottom, they're drawing together these observations of nature and life and kind of comparing nature to our human life in a way, you know? And so they're illustrating different aspects of wisdom. But the point of comparison here is not always that easy to figure out. So we'll take a look at it and think about it as we go. But each of these kind of works like a kind of like a riddle. All right. So that's what we have to kind of contemplate about, because it's not something that easily understood, all these things, but it's more something that you want to think about. You can probably you can reflect on it and gather more wisdom out of it as you each time you reflect on it. Okay, that's the idea. And then there's some sayings here that are kind of seem to be almost unrelated, like this one about the horse leech. It seems almost unrelated. Why is it saying that, you know? But there's probably some reason why it's right in the middle there. And then there's other things as well, kind of like that too. Like it's 17. This one is just a saying by itself. There's no numerical saying here. It's just by itself. And also verse 20, the adulterous woman. It's not part of the numerical saying. It's just by itself. It's in the middle. Why are they placed here, right in this place? What's the reason for that? Well, we can think about it as we go. But it's not really well established why they put them there. So we have to kind of put our thinking caps on and think about it, okay? But anyway, so this is the thing. So it coming on the heels of this thing about there's a generation whose teeth are as swords and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth and the needy from among men. So this is a generation that they devour people. They oppress the poor and the needy, right? And they devour them. And then we see this thing about the horse leech with two daughters, try and give. Now, this may be because the leech, sometimes they'll have two mouths, one on each side. So they're both trying to eat the horse leech, right? That may be what it was talking about. And so it may be related to this idea of the nation, this generation, that was so greedy that they try to devour the poor. It may be comparing them to the horse leech that's always just trying to suck the blood, right? Actually, let's take a look at some of this horse leech thing if we could see what it's all about. I gotta make another thing. Okay. Okay, what is the horse leech? I don't even know what that is. A horse leech is a large, blood-sucking freshwater leech that is often found in pools and marshes. The word horse leech comes from the Middle English words horse and lesh, or leech. Let's take a look at this thing. So gross. Sorry to gross you guys out. But is it because this thing has two mouths? Let's see. Let's go back to all here. Hang on. Characteristics. Oh yeah, horse leeches are carnivorous worms with suckers at both ends. See that? So both ends of the worm can suck your blood, right? So that may be what it's talking about when it says, oh, the horse leech has two daughters that are both trying to suck the blood, you know? Let's take a look at that again. What's interesting about this is that they tend to attach themselves. The reason why they're called horse leeches is they tend to attach themselves to the tongues of animals when they drink from the pond. So the animal comes down to drink, and then it's the horse leech will attach itself onto the tongue. But they generally can't bite the skin of mammals. Okay, so this particular type of leech. But it says it has two daughters crying, give, give, right? So that's kind of like this generation. They're voracious. They devour the poor. They devour the needy. So that may be the relationship there. And then this is two daughters crying, give, give, Yahav, Yahav. There's a prayer in 37 to 9. This is kind of the opposite. If you think about it, okay, so this is kind of like the opposite of this, right? Where this person in chapter 37 to 9, he's saying, don't give me too much and don't give me too little. Just give me just enough for me so that I won't if you give me too much, then I might forget my God and I'll take the credit for myself. If you give me too little, then I'll be hungry and I might steal and take the name of my God in vain. So that's the prayer we see here. But here, down here, the two horse leech's daughters, they just say give, give. They don't have any thought in their mind. They just want to eat more and more, right? So it may be that is that comparison between, this is like a wise prayer here. This prayer here is very good, right? He's saying, don't give me too much because then I'll dishonor you. Don't give me too little because then I'll dishonor you. So just give me just enough, Father, please, you know? He doesn't want everything, he just wants enough to get by, which is a good prayer. But the horse leech, their daughters, they're just asking for more and more. So it's kind of like representing this generation who they just devour the poor, they devour the needy. They're just ravenous, yeah? Then after the horse leech and the daughters, we have this saying again. There are three things that are never satisfied. Ye four say not, it is enough. So here we see these are also kind of like the horse leech, the two daughters of the horse leech. They just eat and eat and eat. They devour and they devour. So similar to this generation too, right? So we have this pattern of people who eat too much and they can't fill their belly. Or not people, but different things, you know? So for example, oh, by the way, notice that this word enough is repeated here and here. So they say not that it is enough. They say it not that it is enough. So that's worth thinking about. And this word, by the way, for enough is usually a word for like property or wealth. Okay. So it's like it is wealth. It is enough. It is. And so sometimes it means wealth, or sometimes it can mean like sufficiency. So that's why it can be used for the word enough. But it's like saying, I have everything I need, you know? But these people don't even know what the word means. For example, this generation, they just devour the poor. They don't even know what that word means to say it is enough. And neither does the horse leech, obviously. They just suck the blood. And then as we come down to these things now, they don't have any clue what it means to say it is enough. So the grave is the first one, the grave or Sheol. Sheol is usually like in Hebrew, it's like the land of the dead or the place where the dead go. But it's often translated as the grave or the pits. Okay. But it signifies just, the power of death, you know? So the grave and the barren womb and the earth that is not filled with water and the fire that saith not, it is enough. So these things never say that it is enough. They always want more. And so all these things, all they do is consume, kind of like the grave never, no matter how many people go in the grave, more people can go in. No matter how many people, get eaten by fire, more people can go in. But if you look at this one from Proverbs 26:20, where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. As coals are to burning coals and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. So this is kind of like saying something related to this, like these things they don't like here when we saw here the fire, the grave, the barren womb, the earth that is not filled with water. These things don't produce. They only can take in. Okay? If the earth is filled with water, then it can produce life. If the seed is there, it can nourish the seed, right? But unless it has the water, it can't do it. The fire, it can't stop eating. It can only just eat and destroy. It can't produce anything. It can't make a new thing. It can only destroy something. Okay. And then now we get to 17. The eye that mocketh at his father and despiseth to obey his mother, the ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. So this is not part of the numerical sayings, right? So in between these numerical sayings, there are four things that this, in between those, there are these kind of individual sayings. But this is it's probably related to the idea of something that eats and doesn't produce, or eats and eats and doesn't give back. Because the father and the mother, presumably, they're giving to the son, right? To the child. But this person, they mock their father and they disobey their mother and despise their mother. And so they don't give back to their parents. Instead, they just take from their parents and then they despise them and mock them. So they're similar in the sense that they eat, but they don't produce. They're greedy, and so they're similar to the greedy generation as well. The greedy generation that devours the poor and the needy is similar to them as well. So they just want to eat. They don't want to give back. Okay. So somebody who mocks their parents instead of caring for them will also be eaten in turn, right? Second Samuel 21:10. And Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it for her upon the rock, from the beginning of harvest until water dropped upon them out of heaven, and suffered neither the birds of the air to rest on them by day, nor the beasts of the field by night. And it was told David what Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done. And David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan, his son, from the men of Jabesh Gilead, which had stolen them from the street of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them, when the Philistines had slain Saul in Gilboa. So she won't let the birds of the air rest on those things at all. So I guess the idea is here that Solomon or Saul's bones are eaten up because they didn't obey their parents and respect their parents. I guess that's the idea there. Sorry, I'm not sure why they had that reference there. But 1 Kings 14:11. Him that dieth of Jeroboam in the city shall the dogs eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat, for the Lord has spoken it. So this is the ones of Jeroboam. Jeroboam was one of the kings of well, he was like, wait. It was here, Rehoboam and Jeroboam, right? So Jeroboam was the king of Israel, the northern kingdom of Israel. Okay. So when Solomon died, his kingdom split up. His son Rehoboam took the southern kingdom of Judah, and it was him, and like it was his tribe of Judah and also the tribe of Benjamin. They were in the south kingdom. They call it Judea. And then in the north, that kingdom was called Israel. And that's where Jeroboam was the king. But he sinned against God by building up these altars and idols and stuff, and having the people of Israel worship at those idols. So God cursed his family. And so now they'll be left in the field for the fowls to eat. So this kind of like these people, they mock their father and despise to obey their mother. So then the ravens of the valley eat their bones, eat their eyes. Now this idea of the eyes and the father and mother, and the idea of disrespect. We also saw this earlier in the chapter here. There's a generation that curseth their father and doth not bless their mother. There's a generation that are pure in their own eyes, and yet is not washed from their filthiness. There is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up like to look down on people, right? So this is kind of going back to that, this thing about the eyes that mock their father and despise their mother is going back to that idea that we saw in 11 to 13, okay? And so eyes can be kind of like that too, where they can't eat enough. So for example, Proverbs 27:20. Hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. So you see, even our eyes can be greedy and ravenous the same way that these people are. Okay, we want to avoid that. That's good. Glad you had your dinner. Lazy gold diggers women are just like that. Yeah, we don't want those kind of women, right? River Eagle, showing love to River Eagle. That's nice. Okay, so where was I here? Right, so those eyes are somewhat like those eyes from 27:20, right? The eyes of man are never satisfied. And so that's kind of like all of our eyes have that tendency, but then it doesn't mean that everyone is like that, right? Or everyone, maybe your eyes are not satisfied, but you can kind of hold back yourself from following the attitude of your eyes, right? But some people, they're not like that. So then their eyes will be plucked out by the ravens, you know? And the eagles shall eat it. Like here it's like this arrogant, mocking eye, you know? And when it says the young eagles, it's the sons of the eagles. This word, it's the Ben Nesher is like the sons of the eagles, you know? And they use a similar word here in 19. The eagle. So the eagle here is the same as the eagle here, but the young is like, it's the sons of the eagles. Ben Nesher. Ben is always like the son of. Okay. But anyway, just pointing that out. But the point is that these eyes, they can't be filled. They mock their father, and they're too hungry and they want too much. They take from their mother and father to eat, but then they don't show the respect back and the love, and so God will punish them. Now, then we have this section from 18 to 20, which is another list of the 4 things. Or, sorry, wait. This is the 4 things, and then you have this adulterous woman in verse 20, okay? But these are connected as well. So there be 3 things which are too wonderful for me, ye 4 which I know not. The way of an eagle in the air, the way of a serpent upon a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a maid. Such is the way of an adulterous woman. She eateth and wipeth her mouth and saith, I have done no wickedness. Let's try to think about what's the connection here? What are these things? Why are they put together like this? But here the speaker is saying that he doesn't know these things, or he doesn't understand these things. They're too wonderful for him. This word is sometimes used like for a miracle or something like that. They're too miraculous. They're too amazing, they're too incredible to understand. This thing of which I know not is similar to what we saw here in verse 3 and 4. I have neither learned wisdom nor have the knowledge of the holy. See, he knows not. He knows not the holy, right? And then these questions are kind of asking, who are these things? What are these things that he doesn't know, right? So that's what this is like kind of calling back to. So the whole chapter is very structured. It's very like this chapter is clearly it's one literary piece, and it has this pattern of 4 things, and also everything is connected in this chapter. Okay, so it's good to think of it as one big thing, but you can also look at each at these sayings individually. But when we see this one, the first person I hear is interesting as well, which I know not, because that doesn't appear in these other ones. For example, there are 3 things that are never satisfied you. 4 things say not, it is enough. It doesn't just have this I thing here, but this one does. 4 things which I know not. But this is maybe partially going back, to this idea in verses 2 and 3. Surely I am more brutish than any man. I neither learned wisdom. So it may be that Agar, the son of Jakeh, is saying these things. And then the riddle has these things: the way. So it's the way of these things that is kind of hard to understand, or something that he doesn't know, and also the way of the adulterous woman, the derek. The derek is like the path or the place. Some other places where we see this in Proverbs is Hear thou, my son, and be wise, and guide thine heart in the way. The way. Okay, and we see it again. That's 23:19, and here again at 23:26. My son, give me thine heart, and let thine eyes observe my ways. My ways, okay? And we also see something similar at Proverbs 2, from 8 to 20, the paths, okay, the path, the way here, the ways of darkness, okay, ways are crooked, paths, forward in their paths, right? Her house inclined unto the dead, and her paths unto the dead. The paths of life, and may us walk in the way of good men and keep the paths of the righteous, right? So that idea of the way and the walk, the way that you walk, the path that we take, is fairly common in Proverbs. And so here it's showing us that there are some ways that are difficult to understand and know. But this also links these things here, the way, with this way here, the way of the adulterous woman. But how are these four ways to be related? Like, what is the way of an eagle in the air, the way of a serpent upon a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a maid, right? How are these things connected? What's the sort of unifying thing here? So maybe each of the first three is like this thing, how it moves in its environment, right? So the way the eagle, when it's in the air, it's moving, and the way that it moves is something that we know not. Also, when a serpent is moving on the rock, that can be also this way that we know not. And when it talks about this one, I'm wondering if it's talking about, sometimes the snakes, they'll go like sideways on the rock, so when they're kind of like, I don't know what they call it, the slithering, right? They're slithering forward. They'll go forward on the ground. But sometimes when it's on a rock, the snake can't slither and it goes sideways. It's the most bizarre thing. Maybe, let me show you that. Let me show you this thing. It's cool, but it's like, maybe, I don't know if this is what it's talking about, but it might be. Oh yeah, this is called the sidewinder. This is some snakes. Not all the snakes do this, obviously, but maybe it's talking about that kind of snake.
This snake can travel at speeds of up to 18 miles per hour. This is the parent gaze adder, also called the sidewinder.
See how it's going sideways? You see that? Isn't that weird?
Sidewinding is the equivalent of the horse's gallop in the snake world. It's the fastest way to get around. And
look at that. It's faster to go sideways for the snake than to go forward. So isn't that weird?
It's
I don't know
also
if
the
that's what
best
it's
way
talking
for a
about.
snake to cross loose, shifting sand.
Oh, but this is more on the sand than on the rock necessarily. So maybe that's not what it's talking about with the rock. But it does do. I've seen them do it on the rock too. So, but maybe that's not what it's talking about in Proverbs. But anyway, so that was kind of interesting, the way that the snakes go like that. I don't know if that's related, but I just thought I'd point that out. Back to the proverb here. So the first three are all about things moving in their environment. Even the way of a ship in the sea, it's the way it moves in its environment, right? But the way of a man with a maid is different, right? This is not about how you move in your environment, but it's about the relationship between the man and the woman. This man, the Geber, this is usually, I guess it's just a man, but this usually like a mighty man, Gebor. Geber is maybe different, but there's this word Gebor in Hebrew, where they call it like the mighty man or the warrior. They'll say Gebor. So I'm not sure if that's related either, but my commentary is not saying that it does. I wonder if it has any relationship. Let me see. Son of a man, an officer of Solomon. Son of Decker, an officer of Solomon. Ben Geber. So I'm not sure if there's a relationship between this word Geber and the word Gabor, but Gabor means like the mighty man. But this is just Geber, which is just a man. But this is like the relationship between the man and the maid, right? The maid is like a woman who has not been married. It's a young woman anyway, right? But this is the same word that they use in Isaiah 7:14, where it talks about how a virgin shall be with child. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. The virgin here is Alma. This is why sometimes you'll see, if you read some of the critical scholars, they'll often say that this is not a virgin, that this is just a young woman. But in the Bible, the word is never used about a woman who's married. And so it's likely referring to a virgin, because a woman who's not married is supposed to be a virgin in that society, right? Or a young woman. I mean, a young woman who's not married, or maybe an older woman, she might not be, but like a younger woman, that's what it's meant to be. So likely that's what it meant, a virgin. And here, when it says maid, that's also in English, that's like a virgin as well, like a maiden. So, but this idea of the relationship between men and women is something fairly often seen in Proverbs, or relationships in general. For example, Proverbs 3:13. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her. Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths of peace. She is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happy is every one that retaineth her. This is your relationship with Lady Wisdom. And here again in Proverbs 8:17. I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. This is Lady Wisdom again. Riches and honor are with me, yea, durable riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. I lead in the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of judgment. Amen. Oh, all right. You can even keep reading. That I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and I will fill their treasures. So this is Lady Wisdom. She loves those that love her, and she'll give you treasures if you love her. But the first three are, interestingly, they're all naming the things that were in the creation of the earth. You know, the air is like the heavens, right? The rock is like the earth, and the sea is the sea. These are the three things that were created when God created everything, yeah? This word for air here is shamayim. It's the same word for heavens. You know, if you read Genesis chapter 1, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The heaven, Shemayim, or Shemaim, I should say. And then this word rock is just dur. It's just a rock, but it represents the earth, their might. And the sea represents sea, which is another thing that God created at the beginning. So all the four creatures are moving in a way that's mysterious and wonderful. You know, they're too wonderful, and we know them not, or he knows them not. Agar knows them not, right? So, and we can see also in this book that wisdom is needed to go rightly in the way, right? If you want to have your way to be wise or to be righteous or glorifying to God, you need wisdom, right? And also we can see that this woman, for example, here, she doesn't have wisdom. And so she doesn't make her way rightly. She's not in a right way. She's in a wrong way. You know, the way of the adulterous woman. So when these people, so these travelers here, the eagle, the serpent, and the ship, these are like wise travelers, or perhaps, right? The eagle doesn't try to go in the water. The snake doesn't try to fly. And the ship doesn't try to go on the rocks, right? Because they'll be destroyed, right? Any of those things, they can't do it. They don't try to do it. They stay in their lane. So maybe that's why, like the adulterous woman, she doesn't do that. She doesn't stay where she's supposed to be. She goes to some other man, right? So maybe that's the connection there. So these things, the way the eagle is amazing in the air, but if it goes in the water, it's just no longer amazing, right? It's no longer this beautiful, wonderful thing. It's just like foolish. It's like it can't manage, it can't handle it. If the snake tries to go in the air, it'll just fall down and die. If the ship tries to go on the rock, it'll smash up. So when those things stay where they're meant to be, then it's very wonderful. It's very amazing how they move. And also we don't know it. It's like something beyond our ken to really understand it. Because it's so wonderful. But if they try to go out into some other thing that they don't belong, then they get smashed up, or they can't survive in that way. You know, similarly, the adulteress, when she goes out from her husband to some other man, or even a man who does the same thing, right? Any adulterer, whether it's a man or a woman, then they're not going to be wonderful anymore. They're going to be destroyed. And then these are the ones that cause the earth to tremble, or the earth is disquieted by these kind of people, you know, when they go out of their way. And we'll see that in the next section where it talks about the things that the earth is disquieted by. But she's I mean, we see in this next section how it says there are 3 things the earth is disquieted, and for 4 which it cannot bear. So this woman is probably related to these things as well. The adulterous woman is also like these things. They shake the earth, and it's because they don't stay where they're meant to be. They go out into some other thing, you know. They do something else that they're not supposed to do. And they cause the earth to tremble. There's something in verse 3 here. Another learned wisdom. Oh, it's in 31:3. Sorry, hang on. 31:3. Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. So it may be that it's related to that, where these type of women, like this type of adulterous woman, she can she can destroy the man as well, right? So that's the other thing about this type of woman. Here with the adulteress, though. So the eating is so similar to, actually, we saw this earlier in 14 to 17 here. So these people, all these people from this section here, right? They're all eating something and it's like out of place and it causes destruction. So this generation, they try to eat the poor people and devour them. The horse leech is trying to devour the blood, and it doesn't have, it just says give, give, give. It doesn't think about anything else. And then the grave, the barren womb, the earth that doesn't have water, and the fire, they also just eat and eat and eat, and they don't give back, right? And then even this eye that mocketh the father and mother, they eat and eat their father and mother's energy, their strength, their charity, and then they don't give back. Instead, they mock them, they despise them. So they're eating something in a way that's not right. And so what happens to them? They get their eyes eaten out by the eagles. So this woman, this adulterous woman, and like I say, this is not to be only thought of as a woman. It's just they're using a woman here for the example. But this woman is also eating something. She eateth and wipeth her mouth and saith, I have done no wickedness. She's also eating something that's not like, that she's not supposed to eat, you know? So it's this, she's got this sexual appetite that doesn't have any restraints, you know? Similar to this woman, in chapter 7, I have peace offerings with me. This day I have paid my vows. Therefore came I forth to meet thee, diligently to seek thy face, and I have found thee. I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry, with carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. You see, so she just wants this sex that she's not supposed to have. And she has this appetite for something that she's not supposed to have, right? Or also in Proverbs 9, you see another one. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. This is a strange woman saying this, right? Let me read it to you. A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knoweth nothing. For she sitteth at the door of her house on a seat in the high places of the city, to call passengers who go right on their ways. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. And as for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. This is again this eating or consuming something that's not for you. Stolen waters. Bread eaten in secret, right? So it's that theme of eating something that you're not supposed to be eating, or something like that. Okay, and then she, after she eats this thing that she wasn't supposed to eat, she wipes her mouth. Yeah, it's like she's very it's very casual, almost like she doesn't even care about the fact that she's supposed to not eat that thing. She wasn't supposed to have sex with this person, right? But she did it anyway, and she just wipes her mouth and goes on about her day and doesn't even think about it, you know? Which is, and it shows that she's almost like proud of it too. Like she cleans up herself and she wants to look nice again, you know? Instead of being ashamed of what she's done, you know? Like back then, if they were ashamed, they put ash on their head. They don't want to look good, right? They want to look, if they're ashamed, they want to look like garbage, you know? So it's interesting that if you see that in this section, it's like these things are amazing to the person. They're these wonderful things, right? But this thing is like this contemptuous thing. So it's interesting that they're linked in this way, you know? Now, I'm not saying that they're closely linked. Like this is a saying just by itself, right? It's not necessarily part of this list of the four things. But there's a link in the fact that they put them here, right? But this saying is by itself. It stands alone by itself. It's not part of this earlier. These two verses are together. They represent one saying. But this saying in verse 20 is another separate saying. But it's put here because there is some thematic commonalities there, okay? I'm going to keep going. So now if we look at these ones from 21 to 23. For 3 things the earth is disquieted, and for 4 which it cannot bear. For a servant when he reigneth, and a fool when he is filled with meat. For an odious woman when she is married, and an handmaid that is heir to her mistress. So here again we have this idea of there are 3 things, and for 4. So 3 then to 4 there's a few of these that have these. Of the 5 different collections of 4 things in this section, 4 of them have this type of saying at the beginning. And then this word for 3 things. What is it? Oh, it's to call. Or is it? Hang on. Sorry, I'm trying to find some words here. I'm not understanding in my notes. Lo to call, nasa. Lo to call. Lo yakal. Lo yakal. For a servant when he reigneth, and a fool when he is filled with meats. For an odious woman when she is married, and a handmaid that is heir to her mistress. Anyway, I'll think about that word. There's a word tahat apparently, but I can't find it. But if we just look at these sayings, just look at these examples here, right? A servant when he reigneth, a fool when he is filled with meat, an odious woman when she is married, and a handmaid that is heir to her mistress, right? These things now, they're also things that are kind of out of place. They're not in the way of the order that God has kind of put on the universe, you know? It's like this woman. She's supposed to be with her husband. Instead, she's with some other man, right? This person is a servant that's reigning. Why is the servant reigning? The servant's not supposed to reign. When it says that these are 3 things for which the earth is disquieted and which the earth cannot bear, okay? So when in the ancient Near East, when they talked about the earth shaking or the earth being out of sorts, it's like it's saying that the natural order of things has been disturbed. It's not going as it should, as it normally we would expect. Oh no, that snake I showed you, no, that's not Canadian. They do have rattlers here, and the rattlers do go sideways on the rocks too. Hi Mason, how are you? God bless. Disquieted. Not sure what you were saying that about. Oh, disquieted. It means like moving. It means like, well, okay. If a person is disquieted, right? It means they're disturbed. They're no longer quiet. They're no longer calm. They're upset. Okay, that's what disquiet means in a person. when it talks about the earth being disquieted, it's probably referring to like the shaking of the earth or the like an earthquake or something like that. But it's using it as a metaphor for the idea that it's the natural order has been disturbed and it's no longer in its normal place. Okay, that's the idea there. And so this woman is also upsetting the natural order. She's with a person that's not hers, her man, you know. And these people also, like these people that they eat too much. They're eating and eating. But this is connected more by the eating than by the doing things out of natural order. But this is connected to this more by the natural order being out of place. And then we do see this in other places. Let me see. Like when the trembling of the earth is like the raging of a fool. We saw this in Proverbs 29, verse 9. If a wise man contendeth with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest. So there's no rest, so there's no peace, right? This is like the disquieted. The earth is disquieted by these people. Are these people, sorry? So the earth is disquieted, similar to these people. Like, if the wise man contends with the foolish man, there's no rest. So that's also a thing where it's out of place, right? The wise man shouldn't contend with the foolish man. It's out of place. He's foolish. You're wise. Don't waste your time, you know? It's not like you're not gonna have rest. It's just, you know, whether it gets you mad or whether it makes you laugh, you won't have rest from it. That's the point. Now, some of these examples here that we saw, the servant when he reigneth and the fool when he's filled with meat, we've seen these in other places here. For example, hang on. Proverbs 19:10. Delight is not seemly for a fool, much less for a servant to have rule over princes. So these things are not seemly. They're not appropriate. They're not what we should expect or what we would want to see, right? So it's not seemly for a servant to have rule over princes. And so this is similar. It's a servant when he reigneth. For that means the earth is disquieted. That means nature has been disturbed. The natural order has been disturbed. And we can see also in Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 5. Oh, sorry. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from the ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. This is a thing Solomon has referred to it as an evil which he has seen under the sun, and an error which proceeded from the ruler. When he sees this type of thing, that means the ruler is in error. Okay? When folly is set in great dignity, when the rich sit in low places, when the servants are upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth, this is not good. This is the natural order has been upset. But this idea of the odious woman when she's married and the handmaid that is heir to her mistress, these have not been seen before. But there may be something. I mean, I think the handmaid that is heir to her mistress may be related to the servant when he reigneth. You know, and that's how people usually see the pattern here. Like this first one is related to the last one. This is what they call the chiastic pattern. I know that's a very technical word, but it's just that's how they call this type of pattern in poetry. The first part is connected to the last part. A servant, when he reigneth, is connected to the handmaid that is heir to her mistress. And a fool, when he is filled with meat, is connected to an odious woman when she is married. So the unloved woman, or this odious woman, it's like the hated woman. That's what that word usually is translated as. Sane. It's like hated. So sometimes people think of this. There's different interpretations by scholars, right? Because nobody really knows 100% what these things mean down to every detail. There's always some dispute in the Proverbs, right? So with this one, some people have been suggesting that it was like a divorced woman. Deuteronomy 24, 1-4. When a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and giveth it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, and if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife, after that she is defiled. For that is abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. So some people have related this idea, the odious woman when she is married, to that woman who's been divorced. And so they're suggesting maybe that's what it's talking about. The woman got married back to the first husband, which is against the law, right? So some people have suggested that might be what this is about. You're welcome. For three things, what is that referring to exactly? I joined the stream late, so I don't know if there's context to that. Oh, for the three things? Yeah, well, you know what's going on here? In this chapter 30, the pattern is of listing of 4 things. Okay, it keeps doing this, listing 4 things. And in this second section of the book, of the chapter, we read the first section of the chapter yesterday, or on Friday. So now in this second section now, it's again listing 4 things, but a number of them have this type of formula at the beginning. There be 3 things which are too wonderful for me, yea, 4 which I know not. Which is, sometimes the Bible has that kind of statement. It's just like a convention of their literature or something, you know. Like if we see it in Proverbs 6. 16. These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto them. So the list is 7 things. There's 7 things, right? For some reason they start with 6 and then they say, indeed, or yea means like indeed, right? Indeed, 7 are an abomination, you know? So it's just this, maybe it's a Hebrew kind of poetic device or something, right? But here we see it again. There be 3 things, no, 4, you know? So it's doing that. It's doing that type of thing here. So here we have these four things. The odious woman, though, we're trying to figure out what she's all about, right? So some people say that, okay, so some people say that maybe she's the divorced woman, so she shouldn't be married again, or at least not to her first husband anyway. She could marry somebody else, but not her first husband. So maybe that's what it's referring to. Maybe. And then some other people were saying that it's an older woman who she couldn't find a husband all her life. When she finally find a husband now, she's kind of gloating about it, and that's like something bad or something, maybe. And then some people think that maybe it's like the second wife sometimes, or whether second or first, but sometimes there's like, we'll see these stories in the Bible sometimes where a man will be married to somebody and he loves one wife, or he has like 2 wives or something, and then he'll love one wife, more than the other one. So, for example, there's the classic with Rachel and Leah and Jacob. So, and Laban gave, wait. So Jacob went, he was going to marry Rachel. He wanted to marry Rachel, right? He worked 7 years to marry Rachel. Then the father, though, when he went to marry Rachel, the father switched the girls and put Leah, the older sister, put her in the tent. And then Jacob went in and slept with her. Maybe he was drunk or whatever. We don't know, but he slept with her. And so now he's married to her. Now that's like, you can't go back from that. If he hadn't slept with her, maybe then. But because he slept with her, now it's over. He's married, right? Well, hold on one sec, okay? Sorry, guys. So anyway, so now he's married to her, but then he was in love with Rachel, right? So he wanted to say, so the father said, okay, work another week, another year, another 7 years, and I'll give you the Rachel also. So it says, and he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And so, but look what goes on here. Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore will my husband love me. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. So she's the one that's hated, right? And Rachel's the one that's loved. Hated, by the way, doesn't mean like literally he hated her, but that he like loved her less, or he preferred Rachel to her, you know? That's what they mean by that. And then the other classic example, this is not the only examples, but the other classic example is 1 Samuel chapter 1. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephrathite. And he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. And when the time was that Elkanah offered, he gave to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and her daughters portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah, but the Lord had shut up her womb. And her adversary also provoked her sore for to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb. And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, so she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. So in both of these cases, we have this one man who's married to 2 women, and one of the women is having this emotional issue with something, you know. In the first case with Rachel and Leah, Leah felt like she was unloved. In the second case, Hannah, she was loved, but she felt bad because she didn't have any kids. So is this what this is talking about? An odious woman when she's married? Is that what it's talking about? Maybe. I doubt it personally. But what exactly it means, I'm not exactly sure. Let's see if we can see some other. Yeah, that's right. That's right. They had 2. He had 2 wives, and I mean, there's other examples too. Like even David's wives, you know, like his first wife was Michal, right, the daughter of Saul, but then he ended up like marrying those other people and stuff. Moses, I don't think Moses had 2 wives. I don't think so. Abraham had a few wives and stuff. So there was that story with Abraham too, right? Like how Hagar and Sarah, they got in a fight, you know? So it may be related to that. But let's just leave it at this. So we're not exactly sure what this thing means. All right, let me check one more commentary, see what they say. Let me get this one out. I'll get one of these advanced commentaries, so maybe we'll get some good ideas. There's different levels of commentaries, you know. There's ones that are very, very technical and stuff, but they can give you lots of interesting ideas. And there's others that are less technical, but they can just explain things easily. You don't have to kind of be always thinking about all this complicated stuff. So sorry, I'm just trying to see. Okay, so this is all right. I'll show you this commentary, and we can read it together, and we'll see what we find. This is what I found on Google. Moses' first wife was Darbis, a Cushite princess from the kingdom of Cush. Moses later married Zipporah, the daughter of Reuel, Jethro from Midian. Oh, was he married when he was in Egypt? Oh, that might be true. I can't remember that. I don't know if that was in the story. I mean, definitely the name of that woman and all that stuff, the Cushite princess. Is that in the story? I don't recall that from the story. But maybe that's like some kind of like legend or something. I don't know. But anyway, so on this one, I don't know if you guys can read that. Let me make it bigger. The topsy-turvy social order now moves from the body politic to the home. So this is talking about verse 23, okay? What verse is it in Numbers, Mason? The topsy-turvy social order now moves from the body politic to the home. Verses 10 and 17. First, the home is threatened from without it comes under the control of a hated woman. The chiastic parallel, a churlish outcast, points to an odious, quarrelsome, unlovable woman whom society rejects, the opposite of a prudent wife. And then it gives these references. So let me see what these references are all about. Proverbs 12:4. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is his rottenness in his bones. So maybe okay, if you see that one, hang on, let me show you that. All right, I'll check that out. Thanks, Mason. I appreciate you guys' help with these studies. It's very helpful. So you see this? A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband. But she that maketh ashamed is his rottenness in his bones. So is this the odious wife, the odious woman, when she's married? That may be what the proverb is talking about there, right? Then Proverbs 18:22. Whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and obtaineth favor of the Lord. Okay, so that's like a good wife. And then you have the Proverbs 31 woman. She's a virtuous wife, right? Her price is far above rubies. But why is this woman hateful, or why is she hated like this? I don't get it. So let's think about this now. So she's the opposite of a prudent wife, right? She's the opposite of the wives we just saw. When she gets married, connotes that the hateful woman who cannot rule her own tongue now rules the home. Or at the least, that portion under the wife's normal supervision. Okay. Having rightly been shunned by society, she now gets even with it from the security of her elevated place within society. Ah, I see, I see, I see. The home can also be ruined by an uppity maidservant, the female equivalent of Ebed. The maidservant served the woman of the household most directly, and thus is used with mistress Giberah more often than with master. When she dispossesses, entails she takes possession of the home by driving out her mistress. Ah, the social opposite of the slave. Before the Gebur, Lord Master, the masculine equivalent of Geburah, slaves bow. Its chiastic parallel becomes king, so just the queen mother may be in view. Either for the queen or the king's mother. The queen mother, who is almost always mentioned in the Book of Kings, influenced the policy and the theological stance of the king. The rebellious maidservant presumably first stole the affections of her mistress's husband. To retain the stability of his home, a man must marry wisely and then remain true to his wife. Okay, so all right. Well, I'll look back at the Bible now, and I'll talk a little bit about what these people are trying to suggest here. So this is an interesting take on it. I mean, I'm not saying you should necessarily believe what those people are saying, but what they're suggesting here, right, for these oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong page. All right, so what that commentary is suggesting is that this odious woman she's just like a wicked woman, right? That normally she shouldn't even be married. A wise man wouldn't even marry her, you know? But if she managed to get into a place to get married now she's going to rule the home with her same odious ways, the same odious ways that caused her to be hated in the first place. Now she has that in the home as a wife, you know, and a wife is kind of like an elevated position in that society. It's not like it's like a respected position for a woman, right? And now she has like power, you know. She'll have like servants, she'll have children she can order around and stuff, right? And so it's gonna upset the earth. It's gonna upset the natural order. She should be a woman like we saw in, for example, Proverbs 12:4, or she should be like this woman, the virtuous woman. Her price is far above rubies. She should be like this, but she's not like this. She's odious, and so when this odious woman is the wife, now it leads to problems. It upsets the natural order. Okay. So that may be what it's talking about. It probably is. And then when it comes to this thing about the handmaid that is heir to her mistress, it's saying that like she's a slave, right? This is a slave. This is not just like a servant. This is a slave, okay? But this person, so maybe somehow she became the heir to her mistress. Maybe she somehow dispossessed her mistress and took her stuff. Okay. Or maybe she somehow got in with the husband and somehow she displaced the mistress, and now she's the head of the household, you know, of the women. So that is also a thing that would upset the natural order. So the earth is disquieted. That represents the natural order is upset, right? Or it's not in its proper order. This word here, the mistress, this is like the word gevre. It's often used for like the queen mother or some kind of rich woman, or a lady, like a noble lady or something. You know, it's not like it's a regular woman usually. The strange woman, yeah, it's kind of like the strange woman, but the strange woman is kind of like the adulterous woman, more like this woman here. You know, But the strange woman this woman might be what like the strange woman too. Or they have many similarities, or they may be the same thing. But okay, Numbers 12. Was it 1 to 10? Okay. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. Right. Okay. So I guess what your thing is saying is that this Ethiopian woman is somebody else other than Zipporah. I think most people when they read this, they assume that Zipporah is the Ethiopian woman. Because her father is a Midianite. He's not a Hebrew, right? So that's why most people assume that. But if you're saying that there's some other story about how he married some woman from Cush, I don't know that story. At least it's not in the Bible. I'm not aware of it from the Bible, you know, but maybe that is a thing. I'm not sure. Maybe it's like a Jewish fable or a Jewish like mythology or something like that. I'm not too sure. But I'm not aware of this in the Bible, okay? So and like you say, so it's the Ethiopian woman. So like I say, most people assume that his wife, the daughter of Jethro, is this Ethiopian woman. That's what they think when Miriam said this. Okay. So I hope that helps with that. Returning to this now. So I hope you guys understand what I was saying about the odious woman and the heir to the mistress. It's the idea that this odious woman, she shouldn't be married. She should be virtuous if she's going to get married. If she's odious if she gets married, now her house is going to disquiet the earth, or it's upsetting the natural order as God would want it. Okay? And similarly, it's just like how the servant, when he reigns, is upsetting the natural order. Similarly, a handmaid that is heir to her mistress is also upsetting the natural order. And a fool, when he's filled with meat, a fool is not filled usually. You know, they're either gluttons or they're starving because they're so stupid they lost all their money, but they're not usually filled up. So when they are, that's upsetting the natural order. Similarly, an odious woman, when she's married, upsets the natural order. So moving on now. This section from 24 to 28 is the section we're looking at now. There be four things which are little upon the earth, but they are exceeding wise. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. The conies are but a feeble folk, yet make they their houses in the rocks. The locusts have no king, yet go they forth all of them by bands. The spider taketh hold with her hands and is in kings' palaces. Amen. So the question for us is then, how are these things so wise? What's so wise about them? And they're exceedingly wise. You know? Exceeding wise, like they're wiser than the wise, you know? That's what this is. Like in Hebrew, they don't really have words like this. Exceeding or very or highly. They don't have words like that. So what they'll do is they'll just repeat the word. Or they'll say like, you know how in the temple there's like this place in the middle where they put the ark? That's called the Holy of Holies, right? So that's all they would say. They just say Kadosh Kadosh. That's all they would say. So and in this one they're saying Hakam Hakam or Hakam Hakamim. So it's like repeating the word wise. Repeating it means it's very wise. Okay. And this is like wiser than the wise, you know, wiser than the wisest. Now, so what is it that like, How are these things small, yet they're wiser than the wisest, right? The ants are people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. I mean, it's not because of their strength that they're wise, but because they prepare their things in the summer so that they're ready when the winter comes, right? So they're prepared their provisions. And we saw this already in Proverbs chapter 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, and thy want as an armed man. But we can see that the ant is the sluggard is being told to behave like the ant. The ant is wiser, much wiser than the sluggard. In fact, the ant is wiser even than the wisest person. You see? Maybe because even the wisest person, they'll often neglect to prepare for all the eventualities, right? But the ant doesn't do that. The ant is always preparing for the summer, preparing for the winter by gathering meat for the summer. In the summer, I hadn't investigated before myself, but I have heard that before, so I appreciate you looking into it. Oh, okay. Ants are amazing. I used to keep them as star colonies, but just the queen. Oh, really? That's cool. The ant farm, right? The ant farm. Yeah, I've heard of that idea. Like, I mean, I've thought of it. Like, it's kind of cool. Or even, you know what I kind of think I'd like to do if I ever had like enough money to get some land and stuff. I would like to start like a honey farm with the bees. You know, I think that's so cool. But anyway, okay, so that's that. Okay. So are we talking about the ants now? Why are the ants wise? Because they prepare their meat in the summer. They prepare ahead of time so that they have enough food to eat. And then the conies are feeble folk, yet make they their houses in the rocks. So conies are like, oh, that's interesting. This is rock badger. Conies, generally, I've thought of conies as like a hare or like a rabbit. Let me just check that out. What's going on here? Oh, okay. Okay, so let's go King James Dictionary. Coney, noun. What is this? Except the primary sense is a shoot or a shooting along. A rabbit. A quadruped of the genus Lepus, which has a short tail and naked ears. In a wild state, the fur is brown, but the color of the domestic rabbit is various. So the coney is a rabbit. Okay, but apparently, I guess nowadays scholars try to say that this is not a rabbit, that it's actually a honey badger or something like that, but probably a rabbit. Hi, Crafty Val. What time are you going to be going over the difficult passages? I'm asking so I won't miss the live. I'm going tomorrow. Tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Not sure what your time zone is, but it's tomorrow, okay? Please do come. Please enter any difficult passages you have, and we'll look at them, okay? It's amazing that the Bible speaks of the ants being female before it was discovered in observation that all worker ants are female. Yeah, that is kind of cool, right? That's interesting, you know? Thanks for letting me know about that. Did you guys know that? Did anybody else here know that thing? I didn't even know that. So that's super cool. Thanks, Mason, for letting us know that. That's super interesting. Because yeah, for the most part, people would say, "Oh, there's a queen ant," and then there's these, and then all the other ants are like the worker drones or like males or something, right? Like the bees. But I guess that's not the case for ants. That's very interesting. Test tube water, and cotton balls are all you need to start a colony with a fertilized queen. It takes time, but it's amazing to see the first of the worker ants emerge. Yeah, I know, that would be super cool. I was thinking about it. I don't know if I'm ready for pets like that, you know? I'm just scared, like I'll drop the thing and like there'll be ants all over my house, you know? Where was it? Okay, the conies, right? So the conies now, according to I guess, like, you know what happens a lot of times, like these words like shafan, I think this word might be kind of not that common. So the King James will give us a translation, and then later on scholars will come up with their own theories about it. So here they say it's a rock badger. Okay, that's what this dictionary is saying. I would say it's probably not. It's probably just a rabbit. Okay, but whatever. They make their houses in the rocks. That's the important thing we need to know here. So whether you think this is a rabbit or a badger or whatever they think it is, the point is they make their houses in the rocks. They're not strong themselves. They're feeble. They're weak. Humans can kill them. Although badgers are pretty tough, right? But anyway, let's just leave it alone. It's some kind of animal, and they make their houses in the rocks because they're not strong themselves, so they make their house in the rock. That's wise of them. That's wise of them. Okay. I wonder where else this word is. Let me try to find this word, guys. Hold on, give me 1 sec here. I'm trying to find this word other place in the Bible, because when they're making the tabernacle, there's this thing that they use, which the King James calls a badger, but now the scholars will say something else about it. Yeah. So I just want to see if it's the same thing. Wow, this Coney Shafan. Oh, sometimes it's a guy's name, Shafan, but sometimes it's a Coney. In the King James, I mean. Okay. So there's this guy, the scribe, who used to work under Hilkiah, and he was named oh yeah, he's the guy that found the book. Yeah. So he's the guy, he's called Shaphan. Anyway, so okay, so it's a coney or it may be a badger, depending on what you think. I would say it's probably a coney, which is a rabbit. Okay, but you can decide for yourself on that one. The locusts have no king. Oh, actually, wait, let me show you one more thing, because in Psalms 104. The high hills are a refuge for the wild goats, and the rocks for the conies. The rocks for the conies. See? Psalm 104:18. All right. So that's that. So the thing that's wise about these things is that they make this their home in the rocks so that no one can attack them. Even though they're not strong, they're able to escape harm by making their homes in this place where no one can attack them. The locusts have no king. They go forth, all of them, by bands. So they don't have a king. They don't have a king to make them wise or to teach them wisdom. Yet they're able to organize themselves into these almost like armies. This word is like, what's this word? Hatzaf. What is this word? An Aramaic verb asserting something to be urgent, harsh, or severe. It indicates something that is either urgent or severe, such as Nebuchadnezzar's command to kill the wise men of Babylon. Oh, wow. See, can you read at the bottom? He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. So the hasty, that's Daniel 2:15. Or his order to heat the furnace 7 times hotter than normal to kill the 3 Jewish young men. Daniel 3:22. So this is when Nebuchadnezzar heated up the furnace, all right? Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, that's the word, hasaf. So that's the word that they use here for bands. Interesting. But apparently here it can mean bands, okay? Or like an army almost, you know? Now let's take a look at some of the other places where we see locusts in the Bible, or at least in the Old Testament. Exodus 10:13. And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. And the locusts went up over all the land of Egypt and rested in all the coasts of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such. For they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened. And they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left. And there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt. And then I'll show you one more with some locusts. Joel chapter 1, verse 4. That which the palmer worm hath left, the locust hath the locust eaten. And that which the locust hath left, hath the cankerworm eaten. And that which the cankerworm hath left, hath the caterpillar eaten. Awake ye drunkards, and weep, and howl, all ye drinkers of wine, because of the new wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. For a nation is come up upon my land, strong and without number, whose teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he hath the cheek teeth of a great lion. He hath laid my vine waste and barked my fig tree. He hath made it clean bare and cast it away. The branches thereof are made white. This is all about the locusts, okay? This thing about the teeth of a great lion and the cheek teeth of a great lion. This is about the locusts. So the locusts are dangerous, right? But the fact is that they, despite having no king, they're able to organize themselves and attack as a group so that no one can stop them. The spider taketh hold with her hands and is in king's palaces. But this word spider, see, a lot of people now they think it means lizard. But whatever it means, I think it means spider. We'll leave it as it is. But it takes hold with her hands and is in king's palaces, because although it's just this little tiny thing, it can live in the king's palace and live like a king, basically, right? So that's why it's wise. And then you have this repetition here of the word the people here, and then the folk. This is the word in Hebrew. The people and the folk. All right. And then there's also a repetition of the word king here. King and king. So that's worth noticing as well. The fact that those things are repeated. Okay. So maybe that these small creatures are teaching us these great lessons about being a people, or like, you know, the people, or being a folk, right? How do we do this? How do we be a people that is great, that is wise? Well, look at the ants, look at the conies, look at the locust, look at the spider, and look at how they are, And that's how we can be a people wise like them, you know? So it's asking the reader, like, what kind of people do you want to be? You know, do you want to be a strong people with a good king? Or do you want to be a weak people that gets crushed? And we'll see some more about the king here in this one. So that's why the king aspect, the fact that the king is here at the end, that ties into the next list of 4 things. Okay. Let me see what else you guys got here. Like a lot of insects, so let me just put this up. Like a lot of insects, the males are short-lived and are there only for breeding. As far as I know, the ant queen only needs to mate once in its lifetime and can lay millions of eggs in its lifetime. Right. It's on the Coney definition. I was still on the Coney definition the whole time? Wow, dude. I'm so dumb. Sorry, guys. I can't believe I'm so absolutely retarded that I do that. I do that every time. Anyway, did you guys understand what I was talking about for the past 5 minutes? Like looking at the wrong screen, or do I need to go over that again? Let me know. I don't mind going over it again. But anyway, what was the title? It wasn't that much, right? So we were just talking about the Coney thing. So then we went from the Conies to the locust thing. Okay, so the locusts are here. And we talked about the locusts in Exodus 10. Wow, I can't believe how long I've been talking like I'm such an idiot. Guys, I gotta be careful with this thing, man. Anyway, so here in Exodus 10, you have the locusts, right? That they were the plague that Moses called onto Egypt. And then in chapter 1 of Joel, he's talking about locusts attacking the land. Okay, so that's their thing there that you can see if you want. All right. And then after that, there was the spider. So the spider thing, I mean, we didn't really, I don't go too many other verses about this, but my point was that the spider, first of all, I was saying that the spider, they call it a lizard sometimes now, or a gecko or whatever. Maybe. I think it probably is a spider, but we don't know. The word is very rare. That's why they don't know what it means. And then I was mentioning this, that look how you see how it's like repeating this word people here. This is the word in Hebrew, and this is also the word So they repeat this word because they're telling us about this thing. This little collection of sayings here is about how to be a people that are wise, right? And then in this section here, it's about the kings, the king and the king. So it's in order to be a people that are wise, we need to have a king that's wise as well. And that's what this thing is going to go on and discuss a little bit about here. But the thing we need more than we need a king actually is that we need wisdom, because even the spider, she doesn't have a king, and the locusts don't have a king, but they're able to do these things. Why? Because of wisdom. So wisdom is better than a king, and wisdom is more needed than a king. Because even these weak things, when they have wisdom, they're exceeding wise. And they have everything they need. They have their meat, they have their houses, they have their bands, they live in king's palaces, right? So they have everything they need because they're wiser, because they focus on wisdom instead of focusing on worldly things. So what we see here is the power of the weak. The weak have greater power than the things in power. The spider is completely weak and powerless, but it lives in the king's palace, and the king can't do a thing about it, So that's the type of thing. I hope that was helpful. Thanks, Glory. Wow, I'm so dumb. I gotta keep more track of these comments. I don't know. All right, good. Thanks. Thanks, brother. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to 29 to 31 now. So in this section, we have there be three things which go well. The four are comely in their going, are comely in going. A lion which is strongest among beasts and turneth not away for any. A greyhound, and he goat also, and a king against whom there is no rising up. Thanks, brother. Thanks. I appreciate your understanding. National Geographic, then repeating in loops about the adulteress. Maybe we'll go through Proverbs by May. Hey, we're almost done. We're almost done. Oh, thanks, brother. Thanks. Sorry. I started keep asking for you guys to validate me. I'm not really. Anyway, I'm sure there's some value to this. Because when you know how you ever heard the saying the word of the Lord never returns void, and it's because whenever you say the word of the Lord, even maybe if I don't speak it the best, right, the word itself is going to do some good in your heart. It's hearing it, you know. There be three things which go well, yea, four are comely and going. A lion which is strongest among beasts and turneth not away for any. A greyhound and he goat also, and a king against whom there is no rising up. Wow, I can't believe how the time flew by, guys. So these final three sayings are naming things. These are all naming things. A lion, a greyhound, a he goat, and a king. And then when it says that they're comely and they're going, this is like they're very good in their going. They're very beautiful in their going. The way they walk, the way they are, they're stately in their walk, in their stride, in their gait. You know? And so this is not like these animals are weak, right? But this animal is strong, the lion. And even the greyhound is like it's like an apex predator. It's like a dog. It's like a strong dog. It can fight, it can eat, kill. This word yatav is related to the word for good, which is tov. Let me see if I can show you that. Exodus 22:4. If the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. I don't know where this word is. Shitayim. I don't know why this thing is referring me here. What's Samuel 15:9? Hang on. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep. Oh yeah, this is the word matav. Okay, that's why. So this word here is the comely. That's the word here for best of the ox and the fatlings of the lambs. All that was good, tov. This is also related. I would not utterly destroy them, but everything that was vile and refuse they destroyed utterly. So that was good and the best. That's related to this word, the comely word here. Okay. So, but these beasts are strong, right? The lion, the greyhound, the goats, and the king. These are things that are strong. They're not weak like those things we read before. The lion is this mighty, mighty beast, the king of the jungle, right? A greyhound, and the he-goats in his pen. This greyhound word, a lot of people try to say this is like something else. They'll say like that it's like a chicken or something, you know, but it sounds like it's probably not. The greyhound is more likely because it's more of a strong animal, right? But maybe this is maybe there's some irony here. Like the lion is truly strong among beasts, right? Turneth not away for any. The greyhound and the he-goat, they're strong where they are on the farm or whatever. But if they saw a lion, they would run, right? So not sure. Maybe there's some irony they're trying to point out here. Oh, thanks very much, Liliana. God bless. Wisdom, I don't know. It's the Bible's wisdom I'm trying to share with you. I don't really have too much wisdom myself, but I do my best. And when we pray for wisdom, God gives us, right? So the king maybe the king often takes a lion as its symbol, right? That's something we see in the Bible. Even Jesus is a lion. But notice that it's a king against whom there is no rising up. So there's no revolution or rebellion against this king because he's too strong, he's too powerful. So we may wonder whether this king is more. The king is he's able to stand up because of his army, of his people that guard him, right? So maybe the king is less like the lion and more like these animals from the barn, like the he-goat and the greyhound. They'll run if there's a real challenge, right? But they'll stand if they have like the right situation. The king stands against a revolt. There's no rising up against him because his people are with him, guarding him. Now, this is interesting because the people are angry at him, right? Like they want to rise up, but they can't. In Proverbs 24:21, we saw this. My son, fear thou the Lord and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change. For their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knoweth the ruin of them both? Them that are meddle not with, so he says, fear the Lord and the king, meddle not with them that are given to change. That is, people that want to change the king, people that want to revolt against the king. Don't meddle with them, my son. That's what Solomon's saying, right? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's not all kings, definitely not. Yeah, it's certain kings. Thanks, Layman, by the way. Appreciate your inputs. Yeah, so this is not all kings, but it's a king. It's a specific king against whom there is no rising up. A king who there can't be a revolt against him because he's too strong, right? Now it's interesting that this king is against whom there is no rising up. It's saying, imagine a king that can't be opposed. Right. A king that can't be revolted against, right? Or rebelled against. It won't work. Now there's some of these words were used already here before in 24 to 28. Like We have king used here as well. King and king. And we have the people word here, the people and the folk, the and the So maybe we should understand these. So we should understand these four here in light of these four here. In light of these, so these four were the weak who were wise. And these four are like, I guess they're kind of like strong, or at least some of them appear to be strong, right? But they go well, and they're stately in their going. So we know that in this book anyway, we know that power doesn't come from so-called strength that people might think they have, right? It comes from wisdom. So these four things, these were weak in terms of strength, worldly strength, but they have wisdom. So they have another kind of power that makes them exceedingly wise, right? And so these ones now, they think they appear to be strong, but do they have wisdom? We saw the wisdom that comes from God up here more. Like these things are in chapter 30 anyway, from 1 to 14. We saw that wisdom here that fears God and acts in a righteous way. That's how you can get strength too in another way, right? So maybe these guys here, maybe they have this kind of arrogance and pride. They're not said to be wise, right? They're not said to be anything that we're supposed to imitate or anything like that. All they're said is that they are comely in their going. So they look pretty, or they look beautiful, or they're very stately and elegant in the way that they walk, in the way that they go. Right? But are they actually something wise or something we're supposed to imitate? It doesn't really say. These ones we can certainly say that they're exceedingly wise, so we should imitate them. We should be like them. But these four here, it's not clear that we're supposed to be like them, just that they are stately in their going, they're comely in their going. Maybe they're a bit silly too, like a he-goat, a greyhound, and sometimes people say this is a chicken. What is this? Like, why are they so? Maybe they're not supposed to be the wise thing, but something else, like something maybe we're not supposed to be like them. Well, I'll let you guys think about that. I'm not really 100% exactly why these things are here, or what we're supposed to do about these things. To be honest, I really don't know. So I'll let you guys think about it, reflect on it, pray on it. Or we can see, let's see if we can find something in another one of the commentaries. Sorry this is taking so long, guys. This is a long one. I haven't even gotten to the thing about the thing about the New Testament connections and stuff, Okay, so now the four stately marchers, it calls them. Agur balances his four vulnerable but wise creatures. Sorry, let me get that out of here. Oh wait, all of them are pictures of prowess. Okay, a prowess. Okay. Agur balances his four vulnerable but wise creatures with four creatures who stride in majestic dignity. over their spheres of influence. The wise, knowing how to compensate for their vulnerability, march with their heads held high, fearing none but God. The catchword king connects this fourth subunit with the preceding two and connotes its royal interpretation. After the title line, the outer frame of the saying elaborates upon the lion and the king. Both owe their stately carriage to their being fearless. Within that elaborated frame, one should interpret the significance of the proudly striding cock and he-goat. All four leaders stride regally because they cringe before none. The first three animals, the supreme leaders of their realms, lead up to the fourth, the stately king in the human sphere. The connection to the king and the personification of the lion as a hero infers the three animals function as a parable for human rulers. The son likewise should walk in a stately fashion, cowering before nobody, knowing the Lord establishes his step and protects the wise. So this one is suggesting that these four things here, they represent an example for the son of these creatures that they walk with pride and they never have fear. They walk with complete confidence, right? And the son should walk in that way as well. So maybe that's the interpretation. I'll let you guys think about that. And if you want to take a look at any other commentaries on this, we can look at that another time, right? I'm going to keep going, okay? But thanks for your help, Layman. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the last two. If thou hast done foolishly in lifting up thyself, if thou hast thought evil, lay thine hand upon thy mouth. Surely the churling of milk bringeth forth butter, and the wringing of the nose bringeth forth blood. So the forcing of wrath bringeth forth strife. So this is the last kind of closing off of the chapter, okay? And there's no numbers or anything here. It's just asking us a question, or maybe saying, if this, then this. If you've spoken foolishly, or if you've done foolishly lifting up thyself, or if thou hast thought evil, lay thine hand upon thy mouth. So don't speak of it. Don't say anything stupid. Surely the churning of milk bringeth forth butter, and the wringing of the nose bringeth forth blood. So the forcing of wrath bringeth forth strife. So the one if you lift up yourself, you've done foolishly. Or if you thought evil, you should shut your mouth. Then it lists these three churnings here in verse 33. The fool is the one who's lifted up himself. And this is similar to the lifting up of the eyes in 13. There's a generation, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. So there's a similarity there, the lifting up and the foolishness of it, right? Because that generation, all those four generations are bad generations, right? So there's something bad about this idea of lifting up yourself, lifting up your eyes to look down on people. The word for fool here is not always the same one we always see. It's naval. It's similar to the name of the guy who was Abigail's husband. You guys remember that story? This is Abigail. David was in the forest. He was hiding out from Saul, and then there was this guy there, Nabal, the rich man, and then David was kind of guarding his flocks because the army was there, right? But then when David asked him for some food for his men, the guy said no. And so David was going to go and just wipe out his whole farm. But then the wife, the fool's wife, the guy's name actually means fool, Nabal. But his wife comes, Abigail, and she comes and talks to David and convinces him not to do it. And then later God strikes this man down and he dies. And then the woman Abigail, she marries David. But look what it says. Let not my Lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal, that's his name. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. Folly being foolishness, right? Because that's what Nabal means. So I'm not sure why his parents named him fool, but that's the way he acted in life, you know? So this type of fools, they either exalt themselves up or they plan evil. They have these evil thoughts. Okay, and if those are if that's what's going in your head, then put your hand on your mouth. Those two type of things, the people who raise themselves up, lift up themselves, and the people that have evil thoughts, they're always kind of close together. They're connected, you know. And so if you're like that, then shut your mouth, because you're just going to get yourself into trouble. And we've seen something like this earlier, like in verse 6. Add thou not unto his words, lest he reprove thee, and thou be found a liar. So we shouldn't. So if you're going to add to God's word, then that's very foolish, right? So God would say, shut your mouth. Or here in verse 10, accuse not a servant unto his master, lest he curse thee, and thou be found guilty. So this is another case of somebody who's lifting himself up above this servant to slander him to his master. That's a foolish thing. And so before you do that, shut your mouth. Put your hand on your mouth. Okay? So that's what it's saying here when it says before you rise up foolishly, or if you have a evil thought in your head, you know, shut your mouth. I see something also in Job 40. This is when Job is now, God is he's been lecturing Job about his foolish thoughts, right? And then Job answered and said, behold, I am vile. What shall I answer thee? I will lay my hand upon my mouth. Once have I spoken, but I will not answer. Yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. So this is the wise thing to do. When you realize that you said too much, that you've been too foolish, that you raised up yourself foolishly, then shut your mouth. The best thing to do. It's the first step in fixing your issues, you know? We see in this book, Proverbs, that speech is often for defending others. Open thy mouth for the dumb and the cause of all such as are appointed to destruction. Open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. See that? And it's not meant to be for plotting and evil. Proverbs 6:16. These things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. So there's a number of these that are about your tongue, right? The lying tongue. Even this, the deviseth wicked imaginations, is related. And then this, the false witness that speaketh lies, and sowing discord among brethren. All these are your speech, your words, right? And so before you say such foolish things, it's better to just shut your mouth. And then what else can we say about this? Now, this thing about this 3 lines here, right, in this last one. Surely the churning of milk bringeth forth butter, and the wringing of the nose bringeth forth blood. So the forcing of wrath bringeth forth strife. When possible, would you be able to do a live on the Bible's description of the physical earth in passages and verses? I'm being told by my peers that I'm interpreting them wrong. The shape of the earth? Well, yeah, we could go there. I think we talked a little bit about it, but because I did a live about like flat eartherism or whatever, and so we discussed it a little bit at the beginning of that live. So check it out, but let me know if you want me to continue or talk about this some more. Well, this thing about the churning, this is the thing that I'm not fully getting either, but they churn the milk to bring forth the butter. And then this, by the way, this thing of the nose, this is the word af. Okay, the nose, the word nose and the word for wrath or anger is the same word in Hebrew. The word for nose, af, is often used for anger. And so this is like a wordplay here when they say the wringing of the nose and the forcing of wrath. They're repeating the same word as a kind of pun or something, or like a wordplay. They often do that in the Bible. We've talked about these before, of course. The final word here is strife, reeve, and this is often used about court cases and stuff, but it can also be just a quarrel. But the word's used quite a bit in Proverbs. So, for example, 3:30, strive not with a man without cause, if you have done thee no harm. So strive is reeve. And there's tons of these in Proverbs, but I won't go through all of them. The point is, though, that when you have folly and evil, you get strife. And that's what we don't want. Okay? But it's interesting that we only have 3 of these things. We would expect like a 4th thing. In this chapter, everything's been 4, 4, 4. Right? Every single thing has been 4 things. And so here we don't have this 4th. But it may be saying that because there's no 4th here, it's like, because these are kind of negative things, right? All of these things are sort of negative. So maybe it's saying that there's no 4th thing because you can avert this thing. You don't have to go to the 4th. You can be wise and avoid the 4th thing, yeah? So that's what some people have put forward that idea about it. But it's a little bit tricky. I watched this stream and was there present for it live. I hadn't thought about the shape of the earth and I've since delved deeper into investigation. I see. So you want to learn more about it? Okay. I don't think the Bible says that much about it, to be honest, but wow, it's almost 10 already. Wow, man. Anyway. Yeah, I don't think the Bible says that much about it, to be honest, brother, but it does have what can I say about what the Bible says about the shape of the earth? I would just say the Bible doesn't really comment on it, but I think the Bible does teach us that we're incapable of determining the shape of the earth. And so that's why we have to actually learn these things from the Bible. And so I think the Bible does generally lean towards a flat earth, but not in a way that people might think. Like not in a way that anyway, we'll talk about it some more. But with regard to these things, the horse leech has 2 daughters crying, give, give. There are 3 things that are never satisfied. Yea, 4 things say not, it is enough. The grave and the barren womb, the earth that is not filled with water, and the fire that saith not, it is enough. So these are things that cannot be filled, right? They're so gluttonous, they just eat and eat, and they can never be filled. James 4. Ye lust and have not, ye kill and desire to have, and cannot obtain. Ye fight and war, and yet ye have not, because ye ask not. Ye ask and receive not, because ye ask amiss, that ye may consume it upon your lusts. So it's that idea of these foolish people that James is kind of upbraiding here, and how human desire is always, it's just like endless. It never ends, you know? And these are similar to that. If I could show you another one, Luke 12:15. Oh, sorry. Luke 12:15. Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. Okay. Back to here. 30:17. The eye that mocketh at his father and despiseth to obey his mother, the ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagle shall eat it. When you think about Ephesians 6, the classic, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. So don't mock your parents, honor your parents. And Jesus talks about this as well. The Pharisees are asking him, why did the disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. So first of all, we should understand that Jesus clearly endorses the commandment of God to honor the father and mother. And also we can see that he doesn't appreciate when people try to make up their own laws to try to counteract God's laws. So 30:18-19. There are three things which are too wonderful for me, yea, four which I know not. The way of an eagle in the air, the way of a serpent upon a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a maid. Things which are too wonderful for him. Things in God's creation. Romans 1:20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his internal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So the natural things, the things in nature, such as Proverbs is saying, they're too wonderful for him, right? These things, they show us God's majesty and his power and his wisdom. John 3:8. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it cometh and whither it goeth. So is every one that is born of the spirits. See, this is one of these things that's too wonderful for us. We can't know it, you know? And it's similar in that sense. It's like these mysterious things of nature that are just awe-inspiring and beautiful, you know? Such is the way of an adulterous woman. She eateth and wipeth her mouth and saith, I have done no wickedness. Paul says to flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? For ye are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. So we don't want to be like the adulterous woman, obviously, right? Matthew 5:28. But I say unto you, Whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. So again, Jesus is against adultery, very much against it. So this woman is wicked, right? Proverbs 21 to 23, or 30, 21 to 23. For 3 things the earth is disquieted, and for 4 which it cannot bear. For a servant when he reigneth, and a fool when he is filled with meats. For an odious woman when she is married, and an handmaid that is heir to her mistress. So this is kind of talking about these people that raise themselves up above what their actual level is, you know, like the servant when he reigns. So it's kind of like this. All right, let me read this whole story. When thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. And he that bade thee and him come and say to thee, give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest room. But when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. For whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Amen. So that's one example of this idea. And then also James 4:6, obviously. But he giveth more grace, wherefore he saith, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Amen. So pride and self-promotion, like these people are doing, it upsets the natural order. It's not good. And then we read this one from this to 28. There be 4 things which are little upon the earth, but they are exceeding wise. The answer of people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. The conies are but a feeble folk, yet they make their houses in the rocks. The locusts have no king, yet go they forth all of them by bands. The spider taketh hold with her hands and is in kings' palaces. So let's think about this in the New Testament now. I'll leave you with this one. I'm not sure if you think this is connected, but I think it is. Oh, wait. Okay. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware men, for they will deliver you up to the councils. They will scourge you in their synagogues. But anyway, this is the part that's important here. Yeah? He's encouraging us to be wise as serpents, but also gentle as doves, harmless as doves. And it's so similar to these small creatures that have these wise traits that we should imitate, okay? And then remember that these are the weak animals, right? The weak ones that we normally think of as nothing. They're being praised by this Agar, son of Jakeh. So now if we look at 1 Corinthians 1:27, God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. And base things of the world and things which are despised hath God chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are, that no flesh should glory in his presence. So God uses these weak things, the things that we think of as insignificant or nothing, and he uses them he makes them into the powerful, into the glorious, and he glorifies them to show his wisdom, to show his power, you know? So that's what we see here. And then, okay, so then now we have this section from 29 to 31. There be 3 things which go well, yea, 4 are comely in going. A lion which is strongest among beasts, and turneth not away for any. A greyhound and he goat also, and a king, against whom there is no rising up. Oh, bye, River Eagle. God bless you. Thanks. Sorry I was taking so long. I'm sorry I was so late. Anyway, what's happening here? These noble creatures, right? They have this majesty, this pride, or not pride, but they're confident, they're strong, and they walk with purpose, right? They walk stately. I'm trying to think where I could see this type of thing in the New Testament. I mean, the lion here, we do see that in Revelation 5. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. Does that mean God uses weak people? Yeah, absolutely, he does. He does indeed. He chooses the weak of this world. Sorry, I'm just answering Crafty Val's question. But God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. But he's talking about who's been chosen by God, right? For ye see your calling, brethren. So the brethren, we've been called to something, right? The brethren of Christianity, we've been called. But not many wise men after the flesh have been called in this way. Not many mighty, not many noble are called. But God has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. The people that think they're wise, they're confounded by the people whom God chooses, you know? Like in the church, there were people who thought they were wise, wiser more than Paul, you know? Like in 2 Corinthians 11, or 2 Corinthians, the whole letter, kind of, you can see these people. They thought they were better than Paul. But God chose Paul, you know? Even though Paul maybe he's not the most, according to what those people were saying, he doesn't look the best, he's not the best looking guy or whatever. But God chose him because God knows, you know? These things, and this is a king. So we could also look at the King Jesus here in Matthew 28. Oh yeah, love and peace, River Eagle. God bless. 2018. Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. So I just want to bring this up to compare Jesus to these proud things, you know, these powerful things. They go, lion, strongest among beasts, turneth not away for any. That's like Jesus here, you know. All power has been given unto him in heaven and in earth. They'll turn away from nothing. I'll move on though. If thou hast done foolishly in lifting up thyself, or if thou hast thought evil, lay thy hand upon thy mouth. Surely the churning of milk bringeth forth butter, and the wringing of the nose bringeth forth blood. So the forcing of wrath bringeth forth strife. Okay. When you think about this one, because remember it's talking about how the churning and stuff brings forth blood, brings forth strife, right? So in Matthew 5:9, he says, Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. This is the opposite of somebody who brings up strife, right? This is like they're peacemakers, so they reduce strife. And then we can also think about this one. Ephesians 4:26. Excuse me. Be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. So he's saying to have restraint and self-control. Don't let your anger turn into sin. at the same time, and don't let the sun go down on your wrath. That is, don't allow the anger to continue on and on over many days and weeks. Okay, just settle it. Get rid of it. That's how you won't let your anger escalate into sin. That's what these people are doing. They churn the milk, they churn the nose to bring forth blood. So they force the wrath and bring forth strife. They're churning it up. They're causing the trouble. They're making trouble out of this thing that didn't have to be. Yeah? That's the idea there. So I hope that was helpful, guys. I don't know. That took a long time. I'm sorry it took so long. Partly because I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. So I'll work on trying to be more prepared so we can get through these more quickly. And what is considered to be sinful when angry? What is considered to be sinful when angry? I would say it's like getting angry is okay, but it's when you continue. It's when you, like, for example, when he says this, be angry and sin not. So if you get angry, if you let your anger boil up to the point where you sin now, you might have some anger, whatever, right? But now if you let it boil over to the point where you sin, that would be bad. So if you, for example, got in a fight, or you got angry, so you started an argument with somebody, and it made a mess, right? That's where it becomes a sin. And also, don't let it continue on. So let's say you're angry about something happened. You can't help it. You just got angry. You can't help it. You feel that anger, but don't let it go. Don't let it go on. Don't nurture it. Don't let it keep in your heart this anger, this eating away at you. You know, get rid of it. Don't let it keep up. You can try to solve the problem, solve whatever was making you angry, or you can try to get it out of your mind, but don't let it keep festering inside of you until it makes you sick and makes other problems. Yeah, that's the idea there. And so if you do that, what happens is you give place to the devil, you know, because as we read in James, if you resist the devil, then he'll flee from you. Part of resisting the devil is, yes, when you get angry and you want to fly into a rage, you want to hurt somebody, you want to say something wrong, that would be giving into the devil, right? But if you put your hand on your mouth, as it says in Proverbs there, if you put your hand on your mouth, then that can prevent you from causing sin because of your anger. Yeah, I hope that helps, Crafty Val. Yeah, go churn some butter. That'll help. Churning butter probably will reduce your anger because you get so bored. But it's something to do. You know, that's another thing. You know, sometimes when you're angry and you don't know what to do with it, sometimes just doing some work or doing some push-ups or doing some exercise, you know, it can really help with those kind of negative emotions, you know. So that's a good point there. Thanks. Who's that? Sorry. Oh, thanks, Martin. God bless you, brother. You're kind of new here, right? So you just joining again. Thanks for joining. God bless you. So anyway, so that was Proverbs 30, guys. I hope that was helpful. Hope I didn't take too long with that. All right, you're welcome. You're welcome, Crafty Val. But yeah, I hope that was helpful, you guys. Sorry it took so long, but anyway, I think I'll work on that to try to make it a little bit more efficient and everything. Okay, but for now, I'm going to say a prayer and then we'll wrap it up. Heavenly Father, Almighty God, Father, you are our rock, our fortress, our deliverer, our God, our strength, the one in whom we trust, our buckler and the horn of our salvation and our high tower. We call upon you, Lord, because you are worthy to be praised. So we will be safe from our enemies. Father, thank you so much for this Bible study, for these people that come along with me and study your word. And I just ask you bless them with wisdom and strength and encouragement and peace. and bless them with the ability to apply these proverbs to their lives with in a way that's righteous and glorifying to you and glorifying to your holy Son, Jesus Christ. Father, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath it entered into the heart of man, the things which you have prepared for us that love you. And we love you, Father, our God, our strength. We look forward to that day when we'll see you and see the face of your holy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Oh, you're welcome, brother. God bless you as well. So thanks so much, everyone. Sorry for it taking so long, but I hope that was helpful in some way. And I'll talk to you soon. Tomorrow we're gonna have another reading, the last of the Proverbs readings, which is or maybe I gotta take a couple of days for the last chapter. So anyway, we'll see. But tomorrow we're gonna read from Proverbs, and then we're gonna have the live at 10 about problem passages. Okay, so please join us if you have time. Love to see you there. And thanks for watching Toronto Bible Study. Hallelujah.
Okay, 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 okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike, Sam, Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you want to support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shields. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike, Sam, Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.